I always believed I had the perfect marriage. That's what everyone thought. My colleagues at the university, our friends, even Rachel's patients. My wife, Rachel Bennett, was Chicago's rising star in marriage counseling. At 38, with her practice, growing and a book deal in the works, she was the person couples turned to when their relationships were falling apart. The irony isn't lost on me now. It started 3 months ago. Small things at first. Rachel, working later than usual, her sudden password changes on her phone, the way she'd angle her screen away when I entered a room. I brushed it off. After 12 years of marriage, I trusted her completely. Then came that Tuesday in April. I was grading papers in our living room when Rachel's iPad chimed with a notification. We shared the device for household matters, grocery lists, bill, payments, that sort of thing. The message preview caught my eye. Can't wait to feel your touch again. Last night was, the rest was cut off. The sender was someone named MC, professional. I felt a cold wave wash over me. Rachel had always organized her contacts with professional designations. MC must be a client. When Rachel came home that night, her auburn hair pulled back in that elegant way she wore it for client days, green eyes bright with what I now recognize was nervous energy. I said nothing. I watched her talk about her day, mentioning difficult clients and breakthrough sessions. Not once did she mention MC. "How was your day, David?" she asked, pouring herself a glass of the expensive Cabernet she'd started buying recently. "Just the usual departmental politics," I replied, studying her face for signs of deception. "Professor Wilson's still pushing for that curriculum change."
Nobody wants. She laughed in all the right places, asked all the right questions. Then she excused herself to shower before dinner. While she was upstairs, I checked the iPad again. The message was gone, deleted. But now I knew what to look for. Over.
The next week I paid closer attention. Rachel's Thursday evening peer consultation group that used to end at 8 now regularly kept her out until after tennies. She'd come home with her lipstick slightly smudged, smelling of unfamiliar cologne. "The group has been so helpful," she told me over breakfast. "We're even thinking of presenting our methodology at the Midwest Therapists Conference." The worst part? She'd begun using our marriage as an example in her sessions. I discovered this when one of my students, who was seeing Rachel for premarital counseling, approached me after class. "Professor Anderson, your wife talks so highly
of your marriage. She told us how you two never go to bed angry and always prioritize each other."
It's inspiring." I smiled and thanked her, the words burning like acid in my throat. That night, Rachel gave an interview to a local lifestyle magazine about maintaining passion in long-term relationships. "My husband and I still date each other," she told the interviewer while I sat beside her, playing my part. "Our marriage is perfect because we work at it every day." Perfect. The word echoed in my mind as I lay awake that night, watching her sleep peacefully beside me, wondering who MC was and how long this had been going on. I needed proof, and I knew exactly where to find it. The next morning, after Rachel left for her office, I made my move. We'd always respected each other's privacy, but the rules had changed. I knew Rachel backed up her phone to our shared iPad regularly, a habit from when she'd lost all her contacts years ago. I found what I was looking for in the backup files. MC was Mark Caldwell, a 42-year-old recently divorced business executive who had started seeing Rachel for post-divorce counseling 6 months ago. Their professional relationship had clearly evolved into something else entirely. The messages started, innocently enough, thanking her for sessions, scheduling follow-ups. Then they changed. "You understand me like no one else, Rachel. I can't stop thinking about our conversation." Her reply, "It's unprofessional, but I feel the same way. Let's discuss this outside of session hours." From there, it escalated quickly. They'd been meeting at a boutique hotel downtown every Thursday, her peer consultation nights. The messages became explicit, detailing what they'd done and planned to do. In one particularly painful exchange, Mark wrote about how different
Rachel was with him compared to how she described being with me.
"You're so passionate with me," he wrote. "Nothing like the routine you described with David." My hands shook as I read her response. "With David, it's comfortable but predictable. With you, I feel alive again." I felt physically ill for 12
Years, I'd believed we had something special. All those nights I thought she was satisfied. She'd been comparing me unfavorably to future prospects.
The worst messages were about her public persona. Mark had apparently attended one of her workshops on building trust in marriage and found it amusing. "You should have seen their faces," Rachel wrote. All these couples hanging on my every word about honesty being the foundation of marriage. If they only knew, Mark. "You're brilliant at playing the happily married counselor. Oscar-worthy performance." Rachel. "It's not all acting. David and I do have a good partnership. He's stable, reliable, just not exciting anymore." Stable, reliable, like a piece of furniture or a well-functioning appliance. I discovered they'd been planning a weekend away during her upcoming conference in Boston. She told me she was presenting a paper on maintaining intimacy through communication. The irony was suffocating. That evening, Rachel came home carrying takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant. A peace offering or just guilt? I thought, "You deserved a treat," she said, her slender fingers brushing mine as she handed me the bag. "You've seemed distracted lately." I studied her face, the high cheekbones, those expressive green eyes that had captivated me from our first meeting. Was there concern in them, or fear that I might know something? "Just end of semester stress," I lied, matching her deception with my own. Over dinner, she talked about an upcoming workshop where she was receiving an award for her contributions to couples therapy. The Midwest Therapists Association was honoring her work on authenticity in long-term relationships. They specifically mentioned how I incorporate personal experience into my therapeutic approach, she said, beaming with pride. The committee chair said our marriage serves as an inspiration to many of my clients. I nodded, forcing food past, the knot in my throat. "Will you come?" she asked. "It would mean so much to have you there when I accept the award." I met her eyes across the table. I wouldn't miss it for the world. And I meant it, though not in the way she thought. Risposta. Du perplexity, BPLX share. The next week was the hardest of my life. I went through the motions, teaching my classes at the university, attending faculty meetings, nodding at appropriate moments when colleagues spoke to me. But inside, I was drowning. Every night, Rachel would come home and kiss me on the cheek, sometimes lingering as if to reassure herself that everything was normal. I'd watch her move around our kitchen, the woman I'd loved for 12 years, now a stranger performing in a play I hadn't realized we were staging. I couldn't sleep. When I did, I'd dream of them together. Her auburn hair splayed across hotel pillows, her laughter, the real kind, with the slight snort she always tried to hide, directed at him instead of me. I'd wake up sweating, careful not to disturb her peaceful slumber beside me. One night I drove to Mark Caldwell's address, a luxury condo overlooking Lake Michigan. I sat in my car for hours, watching his windows, torturing myself with questions. What did he have that I didn't? Was it just the excitement of something forbidden? Or had Rachel never truly loved me the way I loved her? I learned more about him through social media. Recently divorced after a 15-year marriage, CEO of a tech consulting firm, father of 2 teenagers who lived primarily with their mother. His profile showed a man who enjoyed sailing and expensive restaurants, the kind of man who could give Rachel the lifestyle she'd always claimed not to care about. In one photo, I spotted Rachel in the background at what appeared to be a charity gala. She wasn't supposed to be there. She'd told me she was at a professional development seminar that weekend. They weren't touching in the picture, nothing inappropriate. But the way they were looking at each other told me everything. The betrayal wasn't just the physical affair. It was the mockery of everything I thought we'd built together. In her messages with Mark, she'd shared intimate details about our marriage. Things I'd said and done in private moments I thought were sacred between us. David still believes in soulmates, she'd written. It's sweet but naive. He has no idea how relationships actually work. 12 years reduced to sweet but naive. All those nights we'd stayed up talking about our dreams, the family we planned. To start, when the time was right, the retirement we'd spend traveling. Had any of it been real to her? I considered confronting her immediately, but something held me back. Perhaps it was the academic in me needing to understand the full scope of the situation before drawing conclusions, or maybe I was simply a coward, afraid that once the words were spoken, there would be no going back. Instead, I watched her prepare for her award ceremony. She bought a new dress, midnight blue, form-fitting, to project confidence, she said. She practiced her acceptance speech in our bathroom mirror, talking about the importance of honesty and vulnerability in relationships. The couples I work with inspire me daily with their courage, she rehearsed, and my husband David shows me what true partnership looks like. I stood in the hallway, listening, wondering if she actually believed her own words, or if she'd told the lie so many times it had become a kind of truth to her. The night before the ceremony, she reached for me in bed. For a moment I considered rejecting her, but curiosity won out. I wanted to know if I could tell the difference, if intimacy with her would feel changed now that I knew the truth. It did. Every sigh, every touch felt performative. When she whispered that she loved me, I nearly broke down. Instead, I held her afterward until she fell asleep, then carefully extracted myself from her embrace. I sat in our darkened living room until dawn, making my decision. The Midwest Therapists Association award ceremony was scheduled for Saturday evening at the Grand Horizon Hotel in downtown Chicago. 300 people would attend: therapists, psychologists, social workers, and their spouses. Rachel's colleagues, mentors, and many of her clients had purchased tickets to support her. It was the perfect stage. I spent Thursday meticulously planning. First, I backed up all the evidence: screenshots of their messages, hotel receipts I'd found, photos from events where they'd both attended. I organized everything chronologically, creating a digital timeline of their affair. Then I called my oldest friend, Michael, a lawyer who'd stood beside me at our wedding. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" he asked after I explained my plan. "Public humiliation might feel good in the moment, but there are other ways to handle this." "She's built her career on our supposedly perfect marriage," I replied. "She's selling lies to couples who trust her. They deserve to know the truth." Michael sighed. "Just be careful. This kind of thing can spiral in ways you don't expect." Next, I contacted the event organizer, Dr. Elaine Winters, claiming I wanted to surprise Rachel with flowers during her speech. Elaine, who had dined at our home numerous times, was delighted by the gesture. "How romantic, David. I'll make sure you have microphone access right after she receives the award. She'll be so touched." Friday night, Rachel was too excited about her big moment to notice my distraction. She laid out her outfit, the new dress, her grandmother's pearl earrings, the stiletto heels that made her almost as tall as me. "I've been thinking," she said, applying her night cream in small, circular
motions.
"After the ceremony tomorrow, maybe we should start talking seriously about having a baby." The words hit me like a physical blow. For years I'd been ready for children, but Rachel had always had reasons to wait. Her practice needed to be more established. We should travel more first. The timing wasn't right. "A baby?" I managed to ask. "Yes," she smiled, her green eyes meeting mine in the mirror. "I think we're ready, don't you?" Was this guilt, a way to bind me closer before I could discover her betrayal? Or worse, was Mark pushing her to have a child she'd denied me for years? "Let's talk about it after the ceremony," I said, forcing a smile. That night, I checked the iPad one last time and found fresh messages between them. Mark: "Will your
husband be at this boring award thing tomorrow?" Rachel: "Yes, he has to be. It would look strange if he wasn't." Mark: "Poor guy."
If he only knew what we have planned for next weekend." Rachel: "He suspects nothing. David trusts me completely. It's almost too easy." Mark: "That's because you're so good at playing the devoted wife. Your perfect marriage act is convincing." Rachel: "It's not all an act. I do care about him, just not the way I feel about you. After Boston, we need to talk about our future. I'm tired of sharing you." Rachel: "One step at a time. Let me get through this award ceremony first." I stared at the screen, a strange calm settling over me. Any doubts I had about my plan vanished. She wasn't just betraying me. She was actively mocking me to her lover, planning their future while stringing me along. Saturday morning, I watched Rachel prepare with meticulous care, her hair styled in elegant waves, makeup applied with precision, nervous energy making her movements quick and bird-like. "How do I look?" she asked, turning slowly in the midnight blue dress. "Beautiful," I answered truthfully. "Everyone will be watching you tonight." She smiled, pleased with my response. "I'm so glad you'll be there. It means everything to have your support." I nodded, thinking, yes, I'll be there. And by the end of the night, everyone will know exactly who Rachel Bennett really is. The Grand Horizon Hotel ballroom sparkled with elegant centerpieces and soft lighting. Circular tables filled with Chicago's mental health professionals surrounded a central stage where a podium stood, adorned with the Midwest Therapists Association logo. A large screen behind it displayed the evening's program. Rachel worked the room masterfully, her midnight blue dress catching the light as she moved from group to group. I watched from our table as colleagues embraced her, former professors beamed with pride, and clients approached shyly to express their gratitude. "Your wife is remarkable," said Dr. Hoffman, the department chair from Northwestern's psychology program. Her paper on rebuilding trust after infidelity was groundbreaking. I smiled tightly. She certainly understands deception. If he noticed anything odd in my response, he didn't show it. Rachel returned to our table, cheeks flushed with excitement, and squeezed my hand under the table. I saw Mark Caldwell near the bar, she whispered. "He came to support me. Isn't that thoughtful? He's made such progress since his divorce." "Very thoughtful," I agreed, meeting her eyes. For a moment, I thought I saw uncertainty flicker across her face. Dinner passed in a blur. I barely tasted the overpriced chicken while making small talk with the therapist couple seated beside us. Rachel kept glancing toward the bar where Mark stood, nursing a scotch, occasionally catching her eye. Finally, Dr. Elaine Winters approached the podium. "Tonight, We honor someone who exemplifies the values of our profession, she began. Doctor. Rachel Bennett has helped countless couples rebuild their relationships through her innovative approach to therapy. A video montage played on the screen. Rachel in her office, Rachel at conferences, Rachel and me at last year's holiday party, looking happy and in love. Dr. Bennett doesn't just teach these principles, Elaine continued. She lives them. Her own marriage serves as a model for her clients. Rachel squeezed my hand again before rising to accept her award, a crystal plaque commemorating her outstanding contribution to couples therapy and relationship education. She approached the podium, radiant under the spotlight. I slipped away from our table, positioning myself near the side of the stage where Elaine had arranged for me to have access. I am deeply honored by this recognition, Rachel began, her voice steady and professional. In our field, we understand that authentic relationships require honesty, transparency, and mutual respect. The irony was almost too much to bear. Work with couples has taught me that we must be willing to face difficult truths about ourselves, she continued. And I've been fortunate to have a partner who demonstrates these qualities every day. She turned toward our table, momentarily, confused by my absence. My husband David has been my rock, my inspiration, and my greatest teacher about what partnership truly means. That was my cue. I stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand. Rachel's face lit up, clearly thinking this was the surprise flower delivery Elaine had mentioned. Thank you, Rachel, I said, my voice echoing through the ballroom. You're right that relationships require honesty and transparency. Her smile faltered slightly, which is why I can no longer participate in the fiction of our perfect marriage. The room went completely silent. Rachel's eyes widened in shock. While my wife has been counseling couples on fidelity and trust, I continued, she's been conducting an affair with one of her clients. Gasps rippled through the audience. Rachel stepped toward me, reaching for the microphone. David, this isn't the place. For 6 months, Rachel has been meeting Mark Caldwell at the Lakeview Hotel every Thursday night, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. The same Mark Caldwell who's standing at the bar right now. All heads turned toward Mark, who froze with his drink halfway to his lips. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the presentation system as Elaine had shown me earlier. The screen behind us filled with one of their message exchanges, the one where Rachel mocked my belief in our marriage. My wife has built her reputation on being an expert in relationships while systematically deceiving me and all of you. Rachel's face had drained of all color, her perfectly applied makeup now a mask on a stranger's face. She claimed our marriage is perfect, I said, looking directly at her. Until I revealed her secret messages and her façade shattered completely. The ballroom erupted into chaos. Some guests sat frozen in shock, while others whispered furiously to their companions. A few of Rachel's colleagues rushed toward the stage, whether to support her or confront her, I couldn't tell. Rachel stood,
motionless, the crystal award still clutched in her trembling hands. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible even through the microphone. David, please. We can talk about this privately. Like you talked about our marriage privately.
With Mark? I asked, gesturing toward the screen where their messages remained displayed. Or like you talked about me to your clients, presenting our relationship as something it never was. Mark had already slipped out a side door, abandoning Rachel to face the consequences alone. Typical. Dr. Elaine Winters stepped between us, attempting damage control. Perhaps we should take a brief intermission, she suggested, her professional composure cracking. I handed her the microphone. I've said what I came to say. As I walked off the stage, the weight of the past months seemed to lift slightly. I wasn't naive enough to think this was healing, but it was something, a reclaiming of truth in a relationship built on lies. Rachel followed me into the hallway, her heels clicking frantically on the marble floor. "How could you humiliate me?"
Like that?
she demanded, tears streaming down her face, smearing her carefully applied mascara. "In front of everyone I respect? How could you build a career counseling couples while betraying your own husband?" I countered. "Those people trusted you."
Rachel, I trusted you. It wasn't what you think, she insisted, lowering her voice as hotel guests passed by, staring curiously at the elegant woman in tears and the grim-faced man beside her.
"Mark was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." "It meant enough for you to plan a weekend away with him. It meant enough for you to mock our marriage to him. It meant enough for you to lie to me every day for 6 months." Her green eyes, once so captivating to me, now looked alien. "What happens now?" she whispered. "Now I go home and pack my things," I said. "My department chair has a guest house I can use until I figure out next steps." "You're leaving me?" The genuine shock in her voice was almost comical. "After one mistake?" "This wasn't one mistake, Rachel. This was thousands of choices you made, every day. Each lie, each secret meeting, each time you used our marriage as an example in your practice while knowing it was a sham." As I turned to leave, she grabbed my arm. "Please, David, we can fix this. I'm a relationship counselor. For God's sake, if anyone can repair a marriage, we can." The irony wasn't lost on me. "Maybe you should book an appointment with yourself," I suggested, gently removing her hand. The next few weeks passed in a blur of practical matters, separating finances, dividing possessions, informing friends and family. Rachel's practice suffered immediate consequences. Several clients transferred to other therapists, and the publishing house reconsidered her book deal on authentic partnerships. I received unexpected support from colleagues and even some of Rachel's former clients, who reached out to express their solidarity. One couple sent a card that simply read, "Thank you for your honesty. It helped us more than years of therapy." Mark Caldwell never contacted Rachel again after that night. According to mutual acquaintances, he'd already moved on to someone new, a recently separated yoga instructor from his gym. 3 months after the ceremony, I ran into Dr. Hoffman at a university function. He approached me cautiously. "I've been meaning to tell you," he said. "What you did took courage. Many would have kept up appearances." "Living a lie was harder than facing the truth," I replied. As spring turned to summer, I found myself breathing easier. The pain hadn't disappeared, but it had transformed into something manageable, a dull ache rather than the sharp agony of fresh betrayal. I rented an apartment near the lake, started swimming every morning before classes, and joined a support group for people dealing with infidelity. Slowly, I began rebuilding. One evening, as I watched the sunset from my new balcony, my phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "Our divorce papers came through today. I hope someday you can forgive me." I didn't respond immediately. Forgiveness might come eventually, but not yet. For now, it was enough to be standing on my own, facing an uncertain future with something I hadn't felt in a long time: authenticity. The perfect marriage had been an illusion. But the truth, painful as it was, offered something Rachel's façade
Never could. The possibility of genuine healing and, someday, a relationship built on something real.